Raffy Alunan, a two-time cabinet member. He was DILG Secretary during the term of President Fidel Ramos and served as Tourism Secretary during President Cory Aquino's administration. He's running under the Bagumbayan Party.
Neri Colmenares, a former Bayan Muna party list representative and the only senatorial candidate of the Makabayan Coalition. The former congressman is also a human rights lawyer.
Samira Gutoc, she was a legislator of the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, also a former member of the Bangsamoro Transition Commission.
Florin Hilbay, a former Solicitor General who served from 2014 to 2016. He is running under Acción Democrático. He was part of the team that led the country's case against China over the disputed territories before a UN-backed arbitral court in The Hague in 2012.
Harry Roque, he was spokesperson for President Rodrigo Duterte. He was a human rights lawyer and was a party list congressman. He's running under the People's Reform Party.
Mar Rojas, the former DILG secretary, was a senator from 2004 to 2010. He served as transportation secretary as well as trade and industry secretary. He is running under the Liberal Party.
And Erin Tañada, a former Quezon congressman. He was also former Deputy House Speaker. He is seeking a Senate seat under the Liberal Party. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Ateneo de Manila. I'm Pia Ontiveros.
And I'm Pinky Webb. Our job is to ask our 7 senatorial candidates the question that matters most to the Filipino people. We have a live fact-checking team together led by our resident sociologist, Nicole Corato. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Pinky. Good afternoon. This afternoon, we are joined by a team of sociology students from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. They will fact-check what our candidates are saying and also listening to conversations online. We invite our audiences to join the conversation using the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes.
Again, welcome to our candidates today. Please take your seats, sirs and ma'am. A reminder just for you, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer questions. You will hear a sound to remind you that you have 10 seconds left. And then there will be another sound to remind you that your time is up. We have monitors right in front of you to help you keep track of the time. However, you are welcome to go straight to the point and keep your answers brief. Which will then give us more time for more questions and I suppose make you sound and look so much better. We also have our yes or no portions where you have your yes or no, the signboards right beside you. When we ask a question later, we will say this is a yes or no question, and then you will just hold the signboard up.
So I guess they should choose the signboard to their left.
To their left,
okay.
To your left, okay? And wag po mangongopya ng sagot. All right, well, let's begin with our first question, which will serve as your opening statement. What have you done to serve the Filipino people? Candidates, you will be answering in alphabetical order. Let's start with you, sir, Secretary Raffy Alunan.
In the 7 years that I served in government, I fought terrorism, I fought criminality, I fought poverty. I fought rebellion. And I supported the policies that focused on reform, especially social reform. Malawak po ang aking karanasan pagdating ho sa tourism development, sa governance, sa national security at international relations. At malawak din ang aking kakayahan pagdating po sa pagsugpo ng katiwalian, ng korupsyon, ng kriminalidad, ng rebellion at terorismo. Yan po ang aking ginawa nung ako'y naglingkod sa bayan, sa pamilyang Pilipino from 1989 to 1996.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. Congressman Colmenares, sir.
Ako po'y naging congressman, ako po'y naging human rights lawyer, at isa rin pong aktivista sa mahabang panahon. Nangangalampag po ako sa mga issue katulad ng mga ginawa ko noon sa Kongreso, pag-file ng mga bill laban sa mataas na presyo, mga bills na nagpapataas ng pensyon, mga bills na nagpapataas ng sweldo. May mga batas po akong naipasa, katulad ng pagpataas ng pensyon, 2,000 piso dagdag sa SSS pension, at ilalaban ko rin po yan kung palarin sa Senado. Ako po'y sa mahabang panahon naging involved as a human rights lawyer sa mga laban ng mamamayan. Kakampi po nila ako sa Kongreso sa mahabang panahon, at sa mahabang panahon din yon, ako po'y hindi kinikitaan ng pagbitiw sa prinsipyo ng mamamayang Pilipino. Hindi na dungisan ng anumang bahid ng korupsyon o kriminalidad o ano pa mang gawain ng mga public officials na nakakasama sa bayan. Ito po ang aking naging track record sa Kongreso bilang congressman at bilang human rights lawyer at bilang aktivista. Aminin ko po, aktivista ako, pero kailangan po ang aktivista para mga lampag doon sa Kongreso at kailangan panahon ngayon ng isang aktivista at makabayan doon sa Senado. Maraming salamat po.
All right, up next, Ma'am Samira Gutoc.
Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Samira Gutoc po ay isang co-drafter ng BOL na pinasa ngayon ng Monday by 1.2 million votes. So isa po tayong drafter ng BOL, isa pong ina, isa pong run rescue team worker dahil po sa humanitarian crisis natin sa Marawi siege that displayed almost 500,000 people of Lanao del Sur and Marawi City. Isa po tayo naging mambabatas ng Autonomous Region where we pushed for FOI and Education Act, and we also pushed as a BTC Commissioner the rights of Christians and the rights of IPs to live in harmony sa Bangsamoro population. Samira Gutoc po, isang ina, isang survivor, at sana po isusulong ang tahanang mapayapa.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's hear from Florin Hilbay.
My entire professional life has been lived in service of the nation. In 1999, I ranked first in the bar examinations. I could have gone to a private law office. Instead, nagtrabaho po ako bilang isang guro sa Universidad ng Pilipinas. 18 taon po akong nagserbisyo bilang isang guro para sa mga magpapalayang abogado sa ating bayan. Nagtrabaho din po ako kasama ni Senador Salonga. Sinamahan ko po siya sa Bantay, Katarungan. In 2013, I was appointed as Senior State Solicitor. I argued before the Supreme Court, the RH law, and we won. As Solicitor General, nabawi po natin ang 71 bilyon ng coconut levy funds na nasa kabada po ng ating bayan. As Solicitor General, I stood as agent and counsel to the Republic in Philippines versus China, a case that we won. After 2016, bumalik po ako sa Universidad ng Pilipinas bilang maging isang guro muli. Ngunit maraming hamon na nagpalabas sa akin sa universidad. I am a non-politician running for public office. I am Florin Hilbay.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's now hear from Harry Roque.
Well, ako po si Harry Roque. Gaya po ni Florin, nagturo rin po ako ng batas sa pamantasan ng Pilipinas ng 15 taon. Ginamit po natin ang batas para baguhin ang lipunan. No? Ginamit po natin ang Supreme Court para makakuha ng mga orders na nadedeklara sa naunang State of National Emergency na dineklara na labag sa saligang batas. Ang kauna-unahang writ of amparo po para sa mamamahayag, tayo pong nakakuha. Isa sa pinakaunang writ of kalikasan para protektahan ang Boracay ay napanalo rin natin sa Korte Suprema. Naging mambabatas po ako at I'm very proud of the fact that although I served only for 19 years in Congress, I passed many of the major legislation that was enacted by the 17th Congress. Panguna na po rito ang universal health care, ang libreng paggamot at libreng gamot, which was House Bill 23, the very first bill that I filed on the very first day and hour of Congress. Kasama din po dyan ang libreng irigasyon at kasama rin po dyan ang libreng tanghalian sa mga nagugutom na kabataan. Kasama rin po ako sa nagsulong sa libreng tuition para sa state universities and colleges at sa libreng wifi. Ako po'y nag-a-apply ngayon para maging senador dahil una-una napatunayan ko na po yung kakayahan ko sa larangan ng paggagawa ng batas at pangalawa po bilang isang spokesperson, binigyan ko rin po ng importansya ang karapatan ng tao doon sa tinatawag na freedom of information. May mga pagkakataon, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Roque. Let's hear from Secretary Mar Rojas.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Mar Rojas. Medyo matagal nang retirado pero ngayon bumabalik. Kaya ninenervyos. Una po ninyo akong nakilala bilang Mr. Palengke. At doon nagbantay tayo na ang presyo ay mananatiling abot kaya ng lahat ng mga misis at mamimili. Sinulong ho natin yung Cheaper Medicines Law na kung saan ang presyo ng gamot para sa Norvasc, sa mga gamot para sa diabetes, sa cancer at iba pang mga maintenance medicine ay maipababa at yan po ay napasa. Dagdag pa doon ay tayo nagsulong ng batas para matanggal ang buwis sa mga minimum wage earners at para sa mga OFW. Sa paglikha naman ng trabaho, DTI tayo noon nung isinulong natin yung mga call centers, mga BPO, mga IT, na ngayon napakaraming nakikinabang ng mga kabataan natin at plano ko na lalo pa itong palawakin. Lumalahok muli sa pagkasenador dahil naniniwala ako na dapat mas malayo pa ang mararating ng ating bansa. Hindi ako kontento na hanggang sa kahirapan na lang o sa kulelat ang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat. Magandang hapon sa inyo.
Salamat po, Secretary Rojas. Congressman Erin Tañada.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Erin Tañada. Matagal pong naglilingkod sa mamamayan. Nagsimula po ako bilang student leader dahil sa pag-aruga ng aking mga lolo at aking tatay. Sila po ang namulat po sa akin sa ating pagkakilala sa ating lipunan. Sabi po nila sa akin, kung gusto mong maglingkod sa ating bayan, kailangan kang makinig sa problema ng ating mamamayan. At bilang isang student leader, ako po ay nakibaka at sumama sa pagtataguyod muli ng mga student councils at student organizations. Naging human rights lawyer, pinaglingkuran po natin ang mga manggagawa at magsasaka. At pumasok po sa politika at pinatuloy po natin ang pakikinig sa ating mga mamamayan sa mga problemang hinaharap po nila. Nandyan po yung usapin ng coconut levy, nandyan po yung usapin ng universal healthcare, nandyan po yung usapin ng cheaper medicines bill. Marami pong problema ang hinaharap ng ating mamamayan hanggang ngayon. Marami pa rin sagot na tinatanong sila at si Erin Tañada po ay handang magtrabaho para sa kanila. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Tañada.
All right, this is our next question. It's about the age of criminal responsibility. This question goes to Secretary Harry Roque, Secretary Mar Rojas, and Secretary Raffy Alunan. This has been a much talked about topic the past week, and amid the public outrage, the House of Representatives approved on second reading a bill lowering what they now call the minimum age of social responsibility to 12 years old. Of course, we know that the House originally had the minimum age at 9. The Senate has yet to vote on the measure.
Well,
Sorry, sir, here it is. Candidates, here's the question. What is your stand on the lowering of the age of criminal responsibility? We start with you, Secretary Harry Roque.
I was in Congress when this was originally discussed. I was very much against lowering the age to 9 because I thought, and it's supported by scientific studies, that by 9 years old, the brain has not yet developed fully, no? And that children should not be treated as criminals. So in fact, when I was new in Congress, I conducted a seminar for my fellow congressmen and arguing that no one should support the lowering of age of criminal liability to age 9. However, I am supportive of lowering the age to 12. Why? As a professor of international law, the Committee on the Rights of the Child, which is an authoritative group of distinguished persons, have recommended that the minimum age should be 12. It should not be below 12. And secondly, I was somehow influenced by, I think everyone saw that video of a student bullying. I think it was in this university as well. No? And under existing law, a 14-year-old would absolutely incur no criminal responsibility. No? So I thought perhaps it should not be 9, but perhaps it should also not be as late as 15. So I'm happy and comfortable with 12.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Mar Rojas, you're next, sir.
Alam nyo, simple lang ito eh. 18 years old bago ka pwedeng bumoto. 18 years old bago pwede kang uminom ng alak. 18 years old bago ka pwedeng pumasok sa ating armed forces. 18 years old ang age of majority. Bakit natin paparusahan? Bakit natin ikukulong ang mga kabataan sa mas murang edad, sa 12 o kaya sa 9? Para sa akin, hayaan natin yung kasalukuyang batas, suportahan natin ng todo at tingnan talaga natin kung kulang ito. At sa ganun, doon tayo maghain ng mga proposals para baguhin ito. The law as it exists right now has not worked to its full extent. So pondohan natin, suportahan natin, at ilagay natin sa tama.
Thank you, sir.
I still have no more?
You still have time, sir.
Wala, in-erase na eh. May utang kayo sa akin.
Balikan ka namin mamaya, sir. Secretary Raffy Alunan, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I think we're forgetting the most essential part of the problem here, which is prevention. Whether you're talking of 18 years old or 15 years old or 12 or 9, the important thing is for the parents to be very much involved in protecting their young and making sure that they don't get into trouble. I think that whether the age limit is lowered to 12 or 9, I think the parents should be held accountable. There is already a law that holds the parents accountable, but I don't know whether it's being implemented. In the United States, there is a law that heavily penalizes parents who are neglectful of their responsibilities and parental obligations. Now, I also understand that there are juvenile centers already in place. There are 57 all over the country. There should be 114, and the local government units are the ones in charge. Unfortunately, they're not doing a very good job. And I think this is a good opportunity for civil society to come in and help their governments, because in so doing, they'll help themselves and they'll help the youth at risk and in conflict. I helped Balay Pag-asa, a juvenile center in La Salle, Bacolod, which was set up by Brother Gus Boquer and Danding Cojuangco. And I think we should do that all over the country, civil society and government working together. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat.
The law is enough. That's what they're saying.
Secretary Raffy Alunan.
From the minimum age of criminal responsibility, we'll talk about this next question. This is a yes or no question. Please get your signboards beside you to your left.
The one to your left, gentlemen.
We asked this during our last senatorial forum. Do you support reimposing the death penalty for drug-related crimes? Yes or no?
No.
Yes for Secretary Alunan, no.
And no for everyone else.
No for everybody else. Drug-related crimes, yes. All right.
1
Sayang, wala tayong
versus
explanation time.
6. No explanation. And of course, we are also monitoring reactions and questions from social media. We will be asking those questions later on in the program.
When we return, a question on the administration's controversial war on drugs. You're watching a CNN Philippines special presentation, our second senatorial forum for this election season.
findings ng mga dalubhasa, and I think the sooner that it is released, the better.
We are live from the Hyundai Hall of the Ateneo de Manila University. Welcome back to the second CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. This is actually part 2, and today we have 7 senatorial aspirants who are here on stage with us. We are just about 3 months away from our midterm election.
That's why it's really important na malaman natin ang kanilang mga stand sa mga issues, because this can affect or even change our lives. We'd also like to let you know that we invited as many candidates as possible, especially those also in the Magic 12. For example,
At least according to the surveys.
the last survey.
The last surveys.
Senators Grace Poe, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Pia Cayetano, and even Senator Sani Angara. Unfortunately, obviously, they declined. Also, Senator Coco Pimentel was meant to be here today, but due to some last-minute issues, he had to attend a particular engagement. We also invited, for your information, Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Senator Bong Revilla, but they were also unavailable. But do not worry, we will keep on inviting them, and possibly to the April
debate, and we
CNN
will have
Philippines.
more senatorial forums. We do need to accommodate as many senatorial candidates as possible. Now, this next question goes to the 2 former DILG secretaries, Raffy Alunan and Ma Rojas. The Human Rights Watch released a report on January 18th saying the government's war on drugs has deepened. Last year, the Senate conducted inquiries into the smuggling of billions of pesos worth of drugs through the Bureau of Customs. Meanwhile, the PDEA says there was a significant rise in the number of drug trafficking incidents involving foreign express delivery and domestic courier services last year. How will you solve the country's drug problem? Secretary Rojas?
Well, unang-una, sa demand side, no? Yung paggabay ng mga magulang sa kanilang mga anak, yung pagiging cool ng malinis at hindi durugista. Yung mga para humupa yung desire for many of our young na lumahok sa drugs para lamang makasama sila. Doon naman po sa mga lulong na they're already addicted to the drugs, then of course we need rehabilitation centers at mga doktor at mga dalubhasa para matulungan sila. On the law enforcement side, napapansin natin lahat na yung mga malalaki, yung mga nag-i-import nitong mga tone-toneladang mga drugs na ito or yung mga materyales na sa paggawa ng drugs ay hindi na-aresto. Lahat ng mga na-aresto nakatsinelas. Lahat ng mga na-aresto mahihirap. Lahat ng mga na-aresto ay yung mga low-level criminals. No? Saan yung mga malalaki? Hindi naman dumadating. Yung 1 gramo na dumadating sa barangay, nagmumula yan sa tone-tonelada, sa mga laboratories na ginagawa. Nasaan yan? Ako, susuportahan ko ang paggamit ng mga intelligence funds para alamin kung nasaan itong mga laboratories na ito, para alamin kung sino itong mga drug funders na ito, itong mga kapitalista sa drug. Para sa akin, yan ang sagot dyan.
Thank you, Secretary Rojas. Secretary Alunan?
Thank you very much. When I was in the DILG, I was told by the DEA in the United States na drugs were coming into the country and that narco-politics was seeping in. And if we don't watch it, we would become a narco state like Colombia. That was in 1995. Fast forward today, we now have a raging forest fire. There are several ways to address it. Number 1, reform the criminal justice system sapagkat marami pang skalawag sa 4 pillars of the criminal justice system: police, prosecutor, judges, jails. Anybody can free themselves from the clutches of justice and the law because bulok na bulok yung ating mga pillars of the criminal justice system. So we need to reform that. Secondly, we have to strengthen our laws like the Human Security Act and revised penal codes para matakot ang tao. Third, we have to make sure that we provide or render swift justice because justice delayed is justice denied. In the case of, I also would like to propose a division of labor. Society takes care of its addicts, while the government takes care of the syndicates. And lastly, I would like to impose the death penalty for drug-related crimes, especially against the syndicates who undermine society and undermine our government. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. Our next topic is on inflation. Ang dami kasing concerned dito, very worried about this. High prices, of course, a very big concern. It's a question from our audience on social media. And we will ask three of our candidates to answer: Samira Gutoc, Erin Tañada, and Florin Hilbay. Let's go to Nicole for that question. Nicole?
One of the most popular questions we get on social media is related to inflation. So we ask our candidates, how do you make the prices of basic goods and services more stable?
Let's begin with Samira.
Ang concern ko bilang isang ina at taong pamilya ay pagiging vulnerable ng mga mahihirap. We are the poorest of one of the poorest countries in the world. Actually, ang description is draconian. Mas mahirap sa hirap ang Pilipinas. Inflation can be addressed by giving cushions and safeguards to how we implement our economic policies. Dapat po yung mga mahihirap ang lalong bibigyan ng polisiya. How do they survive under the circumstances? So dapat po yun ang ating i-institute na policies, cushions and safeguards for our poorest of the poor.
Thank you, Samira Gutoc. Let's go to Congressman Erin Tañada.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Una, kailangan po natin alamin kung saan nanggaling yung inflation rise po natin. At kung titingnan nga po natin, maliwanag po dahil po ito sa Train 1. Ang panawagan po natin, sana ma-suspend muna hindi lamang yung excise tax ng 2019, kundi excise tax rin po ng 2018. Ngayon, nakakalungkot po, ang ating administrasyon po ay nagbibingihan sa mga hinaing ng ating mga mamamayan at yung sinasabi po ng ating mga mamamayan, itong mga safety nets na dapat kasabay po ng Train 1. Hanggang ngayon, hindi fully implemented. Kaya lalong naghihirap po ang ating mga mamamayan. So kailangan po natin i-suspend itong mga excise taxes.
Thank you, Congressman Tañada. Florin Hilbay?
Ang bagay po yung nagpataas ng presyo ng mga bilihin noong nakaraang taon. Unang-una, yung train. Pangalawa, yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bigas. Ako po, bill pa lang yung Train 1, tutol na po ako. Dahil sa tingin ko, ang bawat batas ay isang kompromiso. Kung ikaw yung nasa taas, doon sa Train 1, kebs ka lang naman eh. Okay lang sa iyan dahil di ka masyado naapektuhan. Kung nasa gitna ka, bababa yung income taxes mo, then you get to internalize the cost of your own economic activity. Pero yung problema, yung nasa ilalim, yung nasa laylayan, yung mga walang kapangyarihan, sila yung hindi nabigyan ng oportunidad para magsalita. At sila yung tinamaan ng pagtaas ng presyo ng train. Lugi sila doon. It's also unconstitutional from the standpoint of the policy of the 1987 Constitution. Yung atas ng ating saligang batas, progressive system of taxation. Ability to pay, ang basihan doon sa pagpataw ng buwis, hindi kung ano man lang. No? Pangalawa, nakita natin na hindi na-manage ng maayos yung presyo ng bigas, kaya naman tumaas. Kaya sa tingin ko, yung dalawang bagay na nasa kontrol ng pamahalaan na nabitiwan, yung pagpataw ng Train 1 at yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bigas, yun yung kailangan na i-manage.
Maraming salamat, sir. The next question is still about inflation. And, malapit na kayo, sir. And this one goes to Congressman Neri Colmenares, Secretary Harry Roque, and Secretary Mar Rojas. How can we bring down the price of rice and protect rice farmers at the same time? Congressman Colmenares, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Well, ang unang problema talaga sa pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin ng bigas, for example, ay ang kulang talaga ang suporta ng gobyerno sa agrikultura. Can you imagine that? A government which imposes irrigation fees sa mga magsasaka niya. Kumpara sa Vietnam, kumpara sa Thailand, tayo lang ang nag-impose ng irrigation fee, kaya mahal ang production cost. So dapat talaga suportahan ng gobyerno yan. Pangalawa po, inflation is affecting even the rice industry. Mataas ang presyo ng gasolina, tubig, kuryente. Bakit? ay grabe ang pataw ng gobyerno ng buwis. Saan ka nakakita ng bansa talagang halos itatax lahat ng inflationary products? Kuryente, tubig, langis. Pag tinaasan mo yan ng tax, tataas lang lahat ng presyo ng bilihin. Kaya ang mga magsasaka natin, pag transport mo pa lang ng iyong, ang iyong produkto, lugi ka na. Kaya, siyempre, sabihin nila, mas mura sa Vietnam, mas mura sa Thailand. Bilyon-bilyon ang ginagastos ng gobyerno para sa yumaman ng magsasaka ng Vietnam, ng Thailand, iba pa. Dapat bilyon-bilyon igastos sa magsasaka para yumaman ng ating magsasaka. Yun po ang problema dito. At secondly, maraming kartel po dyan sa rice industry. Dapat tigilan ng kartel na nagmamanipulate para itaas ang presyo ng bigas at mga bilihin. Salamat po.
Secretary Harry Roque.
Natin ngayon yung bagong panukalang batas na yung tinatawag na rice tarification. No? Importante po na mapababa ang presyo ng bigas dahil yan po ay malapit sa ating sitmura. At sa tingin ko po, no, kung kulang talaga ating produksyon ng bigas, tayo kumalap sa ibang mga bansa. No? Pero importante rin na yung papel din ng NFA, ipagpatuloy natin. Sa proseso na nagkakaroon ng stockpile ng NFA, dapat kung anong dapat na presyong ibigay sa ating mga lokal na mga magsasaka, ibigay na natin. Binabayaran naman natin ang mga dayuhang mga magsasaka. No? So kung ano yung bayad natin sa kanila, ibigay na rin natin sa mga lokal na mga magsasaka yung ganung presyo na pinambibili natin. Pangalawa, importante pong labanan pa rin ang korupsyon dyan sa NFA. Alam po natin, kaya tayo nagka-problema dahil sa issue ng korupsyon. Kinakailangan po mapanagot yung mga hindi bumili ng mga panahon na dapat sila bumili ng bigas. At importante yung mga maparusahan, yung mga nagkalap ng bigas na hindi naman nakarating sa taong bayan. Sa akin, it's still about the rule of law. It's still about enforcing our laws against graft and corruption. Kaya po nagkulang bigas, nagkaroon ng korupsyon dyan sa NFA.
Secretary Mar Rojas, sir.
I feel very strongly about this. No? Alam niyo po, sa larangan ng bigas, unang-una, nakakadismaya na ang ating pera pupunta pa sa Thailand, sa ibang mga bansa para makakain lamang tayo. Samantalang may mga magsasakang Pilipino na kaya naman nilang i-produce yung pangangailangan natin. Ang average harvest, ang average yield sa Pilipinas is 4 tons per hectare. Ito nagagawa at magagawang 6 to 8 tons per hectare. Ibig sabihin, dodoble ang kanilang kita kahit hindi pa lumaki yung lupain na sinasaka nila. Ito nagagawa na, you know where? Negros Occidental, isang probinsya na kilalang kilala para sa tubo. Ngayon, they have 30,000 hectares averaging 6 tons per hectare and going to 8 tons per hectare. Certified seeds, ang importante, tulong sa mga magsasaka at murang pautang para hindi sila baon sa utang. Hindi pa nila na itatanim yung kanilang sasakahin, naiutang at nabenta na nila. Pangalawa, post-harvest facilities. DA natin mismo nagsasabi, 25% ng inaning palay hindi nako-convert into rice dahil purol yung treasure, dahil binibilad sa kalye. So we can improve, we can double the income of the farmers and as well as increase it by 30%. Thank you.
Secretary Rojas.
We have another yes or no question.
Get your
Candidates, please
signboards
prepare
ready.
your signboards. Should Congress compel President Duterte to make his medical records public, whether or not it is a serious illness, as the Constitution says? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Everybody, okay. No from Raffy Alunan and Harry Roque.
Okay.
Wow, the audience reaction, huh?
Pia, 2 no's.
2 no's. Raffy Alunan and
Secretary
Harry
Alunan
Roque.
and Secretary
Ang
Harry
sarap
Roque.
sana tanungin, ano? Explanation,
nga
pero
eh.
hindi pwede. Kaya nga,
Baka-
yes or no?
Pia, baka sa break.
Baka sa
Tanungin
break,
natin.
no? At ang sarap tanungin ng audience, bakit kaya ganyan kayo mag-react? But anyway, okay. All right, this is...
We're gonna go on a break, Pia, yeah.
This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. When we return, we're going to talk about traffic, which is costing this country 3.5 billion pesos a day in lost opportunities. The challenge now is to how to make creative use of our time. when we are stuck in traffic,
And
Pinky.
the thing is, if this is not addressed, this is going to cost us 5.4 billion pesos a day by 2035. So, you want to find out their answers? We'll be back after this break.
This is the CNN Philippine Senatorial Forum Part 2. We are joined here on stage by 7 senatorial aspirants.
So
Pinky.
here, Pia, is another yes or no question. I wonder if they're going to answer the same way again. The COMELEC proclaimed on Friday the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Do you believe that the Bangsamoro Organic Law will help establish long-lasting peace and uplift the lives of our fellow Filipinos in Mindanao? Yes or no? Different answer
No
this
from
time
Neri
around.
Colmenares. Yes from everybody else. Our next question still on Mindanao. This is for Samira Gutoc, Raffy Alunan, and Florin Hilbay. Just this morning, we had twin explosions in the cathedral in Jolo in Sulu. 27 dead, many more wounded. Is martial law justified in Mindanao? We'd
No.
like you to explain your answers, please. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Samira Gutoc, you first.
No, it is not justified. We stood in Congress as an evacuee leader to cite incidents of human rights violations at certain instances and locations within Mindanao. There is no invasion. There is no lawless rebellion. There is a group of young people who took to the street to oppose what they felt was a warrant of arrest on their colleague, Hapilon. So we thought that there should be strengthening more of our peacekeeping measures. It should be an enforcement by the PNP, the military, that should be taken to task. Hindi po kailangan ng malawakang martial law. At ang ibang areas naman sa Mindanao ay addressed ang kanilang peace at order. So I feel that martial law is uncalled for. We have a freedom of press. It should be guaranteed. The right to liberty and motion should be guaranteed. And it is under threat under martial law.
Thank you, Samira. Secretary Alunan.
Well, first of all, martial law is favored by the people of Mindanao. And they consider it as a...
Let's give Secretary Alunan a chance to explain. Go ahead, sir.
And they consider it a preventive measure because Mindanao still has many threats: banditry, terrorism, insurgency. To the right of Mindanao, from the middle of Mindanao to the right, you have the NPA. To the left of Mindanao, you have the insurgency, as well as terrorism, as well as ISIS-related organizations. As you can see, Marawi is Exhibit A. And what happened in Jolo is another case in point. I think to the extent that the people of Mindanao are comfortable, are safe and secure because of martial law, then let's grant it to Mindanao, to the people of Mindanao. The important thing is that martial law in Mindanao is not the same as the martial law of the Marcos era. It's very, very different. These guys are laid back. They act to prevent act of terrorism, and if necessary, use every force to crush, to deter, detect, and crush threats against the public safety and security of the people.
Thank you, sir. Florin Hilbay.
Ang ating presidente at kahit sinong presidente ay may kontrol sa sandatahang lakas natin at kayang rumisponde sa kahit anong problema nang hindi nagdedeklara ng martial law. Si President Erap, pinasok niya ang Camp Abu Bakar, nagsampa ba siya, nagdeklara ba siya ng batas militar? Hindi. Si Presidente Aquino, Zamboanga Siege, Sulu Siege, nagdeklara ba siya ng batas militar? Hindi. No? ang pagdedeklara ng batas militar ay usaping legal at constitutional. Hindi komportable ba ang mga tao doon sa lugar na yon o hindi. Noong 2017, nagdeklara ng batas militar, in-extend sa kadulu-duluhan ng 2017. Noong 2018, in-extend ang batas militar. Kahit na sinabi na tapos na ang giyera, nagsampa kami ng kaso sa Korte Suprema, tinanong ang the Armed Forces of the Philippines, do you need martial law? Ang sabi ng AFP, we don't need martial law. Sa harap ng mga miyembro ng Korte Suprema, hindi natin kailangan ng batas militar. And it doesn't demean the power of the President to use the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Walang kinalaman sa solusyon ang problema. Yun ang problema natin.
Thank you, Florin Hilbay.
Our next question is for Neri Colmenares, Harry Roque, and Erin Tañada. You did answer this a while ago, sir. Napaka-importante para sa mga manggagawa nitong tanong na to. But it's a question from the Kilusang Mayo 1, which they emailed to us. Ano po ang tindig ng mga senatorial sa pagkakaroon ng national minimum wage? Congressman Colmenares, you go first, sir.
Nag-file na po kami ng isang national minimum wage bill sa ilang termino ko sa Kongreso. Bakit? Dapat po may minimum wage itaas ang sahod. Walang question dyan. 537 pesos sa NCR, saan ka pupulutin nun? But more than that, dapat dapat pantay ang sahod sa buong bansa. Bakit? Ang presyo ba dito ng kung anong bilihin dyan sa SM North o sa Ayala, magkaiba sa presyo ng SM North o Ayala sa ibang probinsya. Mataas pa nga minsan ang gasolina doon. The inflation rate in many regions are practically higher, if not the same, ng NCR. So bakit mas mataas ang sahod sa NCR, mababa ang sa probinsya? Dapat po pantay-pantay patas ang sahod sa National Minimum Wage Law. At hindi kami sang-ayon sa regionalization ng wages. Ang hirap ng buhay sa probinsya, bibigyan mo lang. Ilocos is one of the lowest. In fact, parang 300 plus pesos ang minimum wage sa Ilocos. Sa ibang probinsya sa Bicol o sa Mindanao, all these talk about mas mababa dapat ang sahod sa mga probinsya. Hindi po kami sang-ayon yan. At isa yan sa mga ifa-file kong bill kung sakaling pala rin ako sa Senado, isang wage national, pantay-pantay, mataas sa buong bansa.
Ano po yung amount? Very quickly, sir. What amount are you thinking of?
Well, ang aming proposal sa bill is 750 pesos minimum wage per day po.
Secretary Harry Roque, you're up, sir.
Well, pabor din po ako sa isang national minimum wage. No? Naniniwala po ako na unang-una, ang papel ng Senado, ng ating gobyerno ay para pangalagaan talaga ang manggagawa. Tapos na po yung mga panahon na iniisip natin na pareho po ang lagay ng mga manggagawa at mga employers. Nakasaad na po sa desisyon ng Korte Suprema na talagang hindi sila po magiging pantay at sa ating saligang batas talagang papanig po ang gobyerno para sa mga manggagawa. So ang importante po, malaman natin kung anong tamang minimum wage na hindi naman po makakaapekto doon sa mga namumuhunan at ang importante rin po, siguraduhin natin na yung inflation o yung pagtaas ng presyo ay pantay-pantay sa buong Pilipinas.
Thank you. Congressman Erin Tañada.
Maraming salamat, Pinky. Kagaya na sinabi ko kanina, I'm in favor of a review of the wage structure in our country. Dahil alam naman po natin, pag tumaas ang presyo ng langis, nationwide. Pag tumaas ang presyo ng bigas, nationwide. Kapag tumaas ang presyo ng kuryente, kung minsan mas mahal pa sa probinsya kaysa Metro Manila. Hindi naman nag-iiba ang pagtaas ng presyo ng langis kung ikaw ay nasa Region 6, Region 5, o Region 9. Lahat po yan epektado ng pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Kaya importanteng tignan po natin kung makatarungan pa ba ang paggamit ng Regional Wage Board sa pagtakta ng minimum wage. Sa tingin ko po, hindi na makatarungan yan at kailangan po natin buksan ang pag-uusap tungkol dito para mahanap po natin ang disenteng sweldo para sa lahat.
Alright. Matutuwa sila sa sagot ng tatlong senatorial candidates natin. Thank you, gentlemen.
Another yes or no question. Candidates, and this is on divorce. Should divorce be legal on grounds of abuse or irreconcilable differences? Yes or no? Yes for everyone.
Unanimous. Finally.
Next, we're going to ask our senatorial candidates about data privacy that's been in the news a lot these last few weeks.
And of course, you can join our conversation through Facebook and Twitter. Just use the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes. We will be right back. Stay tuned. We are asking our 7 senatorial candidates the questions that most of us want to find out. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation.
This next question will be about our country's third telco player. We'd like the following candidates to answer this question: Mar Rojas, Raffy Alunan, and Harry Roque. During the Senate investigation into the country's third telco, Senate Minority Leader Frank Drilon said Ms. Latel's franchise should be deemed void since it failed to operate as required within a year from the grant of franchise in April 1998. Congressional franchise was one of the issues raised. The change of ownership without congressional approval was another. Our question is, should the government review the provisional third telco rights given to Ms. Latel, or should a new round of bidding be conducted? Secretary Rojas.
If the question is, do we want a third telco in our country? The answer is yes. More competition, better service, lower cost to the consumer. Should it be this particular telco? Well, the evidence and the compliance with our rules on franchises should determine that. No? Ang mahalaga sa akin ay serbisyo para sa ating mga mamamayan. You don't know this, but there are nearly 1 million Filipinos na naghahanap buhay sa pamamagitan ng internet, dagdag pa doon sa mga call centers at IT BPO. These are Filipinos who teach English, who edit manuscripts, who write research papers, and the like, na ang kanilang pamamagitan para ma-access ang kanilang mga customer ay sa internet. They work from home. Hindi na sila dagdag doon sa problema sa traffic. Ang kanilang pangangailangan ay access to the internet. Ito yung pinaka-pamamaraan nila para ma-fulfill nila yung kanilang serbisyo na binabayad sa kanila. Bilyong-bilyong dolyar ang ibinabayad sa kanila. 1 milyong mga Pilipino na naghahanap buhay na dyan. Ang mahalaga ay maayos na internet. Ang internet sa atin ngayon, we are number 88 sa mundo. Nasa kulela tayo. More competition is better for all of us.
Thank you, Secretary Rojas. Secretary Alunan.
Yes, I agree. We need to open up the market. We need competition. We need to improve the quality of service. We need to bring down the cost of service to the consumer. As has been said already, we're paying very high prices for very poor service. So a third telco is necessary. But whether it is this telco or not depends on the rules. Did they meet the criteria? If they didn't meet the criteria, then it should be reviewed. And if they still won't meet the criteria, then it should be rebidden.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. Secretary Roque.
Well, importante po ang third telco dahil sawang-sawa na tayo sa hindi nakakarinigan na tawagan, sawang-sawa na tayo sa bigla na lang napuputol, pagdating ng 3 minutes nawawala na, at sawang-sawa na po tayo sa kabila ng palpak na serbisyo ng dalawang telcos natin, napakataas naman ang ating binabayaran. No? Kinakailangan din natin mas mabilis at mas reliable na internet service. Kaya nga po, pabor na pabor ako na magkaroon ng telco. Now, siyempre po, dahil nais natin magkaroon ng mas mabuting telco service provider, importante na pumili tayo ng pangatlong telco na may kakayahan na magbigay ng mas mabuting serbisyo. Ganun pa man, ang akin lang is tignan po natin. Tama ba ang sinasabi ni Senator Drilon? Dahil siyempre po, no, isipin natin, sino bang magkaka-interest na wag makapasok ang third telco? Sa akin, papasukin ng third telco, reviewin natin na sila makakabigay ng mas mabuting serbisyo at hindi natin hahadlangan lamang yung pagnanais ng buong bayan na magkaroon ng mas maraming competitors para mabigyan ng mas mabuting serbisyo ang ating mga mamamayan.
Thank you, Secretary Roque.
All right, late last year, the Senate and the House ratified the Cancer Control Bill that will establish a national framework to combat the disease. Among other things, it will provide affordable cancer treatment to Filipinos. This is a question from the Philippines Alliance of Patient Organization, which actually represents at least 1 million patients. We'd like to hear from Florin Hilbay, Roxas, and Raffy Alunan. How would you fund the Cancer Control Bill? We start with Florin Hilbay.
Sa akin, ang problema sa ating gobyerno is yung underspending. Kaya pag merong underspending, lahat yan ay nako-convert into savings. Laging may pera ang ating gobyerno. It's a question of how you prioritize the problems for government. Ang amin pong pamilya ay nagkaroon ng problema sa cancer noong mga nakaraang taon. It's very corrosive dun sa environment ng family. It's very emotionally draining. I cannot imagine kung gaano katindi yung nararamdaman ng iba't ibang pamilya na dumadaan at may dumadaan sa cancer, pati yung kanilang kaibigan, pati yung kanilang mga kamag-anak. It's a necessity. We don't need to think about where to fund it. The government should find it regardless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Roxas, go ahead, sir.
Ang cancer ay isang sakit na pamilyar ako. Namatay ang dad ko sa cancer, namatay ang kapatid ko na si Dinggoy sa cancer. At doon nagsimula yung aking pagtutok sa cheaper medicines dahil nakita ko kung gaano kamahal magkasakit dito sa ating bansa. Nagawa na natin yan sa cheaper medicines. No? May magagawa pa tayo dito sa cancer bill. Unang-una, saan tayo kukuha ng pera? Dito sa buwis mula sa tabako at saka sa alak. Diyan tayo pwede kumuha ng pera. Pangalawa, dapat gamitin ng gobyerno yung kanyang kapangyarihan, yung kanyang buying power to purchase at lower prices. Alam natin lahat yan. Kahit yung pinakamusmus na bata, alam nila yan. Mas mura kung maramihan kaysa sa kakaunti na o tingi na pagbili. Ang gobyerno natin pwedeng gamitin tulad ng ginagawa sa India, tulad ng ginagawa sa Canada, sa Australia, sa iba pang mga bansa where there's a nationalized health system, ang gobyerno magsasabi, bibili kami ng 1 million doses nito or 1 million tablets na yon. So ngayon, international na ang bidding dyan, bakbakan sa presyo, bababa ang presyo, at sa ganon, dekalidad ang matatanggap natin.
Let's hear from Secretary Alunan.
Thank you. Nasa budgeting yan eh. We should give health costs, healthcare, universal healthcare, priority sa budgeting. Just like, for example, science and technology. Meron tayong batas to provide 1 or 2% per GDP, but hindi na natutupad yon. We should do the same for universal healthcare and focus on the top 10 diseases, to include cancer, diabetes, etc. But in addition to that, I think we need to also lower the cost of medicines and generate more professionals to provide the necessary health care, especially the doctors and the technicians, to address cancer. I also have a problem, not just with cancer. I also have a problem with other cases like autism, like PWDs. I don't think there's any budget that's being set aside for them. I would like to set aside a budget for PW one-stop shop centers, aside from anti-cancer centers, through proper budgeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. From one health question to another, our next yes or no question is about medical marijuana. Candidates, please prepare your signboards. The question is, should medical marijuana be legalized for ailments such as cancer, multiple sclerosis, seizures, and serious chronic pain? Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Yes, for everybody.
Again, a unanimous answer, Pia.
We are down to the last few questions. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation, our Senatorial Forum Part 2. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We are live at the Ateneo de Manila University with 7 senatorial candidates who want to serve in the 18th Congress. Thank you, candidates, for joining us today. We move on to the issue of data privacy. Maraming balita tungkol dyan. Too many people know too much about us, and it's not because of oversharing on social media, I suppose. Let's have Neri Colmenares, Erin Tañada, and Harry Roque answer this question. We see the continued expansion of e-commerce and rapid technological advancements all over the world, but data protection is a big challenge. What can the Senate do to encourage technological innovation while protecting our privacy? Neri Colmenares first.
Well, ang issue ng data privacy has always been an issue for us human rights lawyers. In fact, I lecture sa mandatory continuing legal education for lawyers ng writ of habeas data. Kasi ang tingin namin napakahalaga po niyan. Para sa akin, if gather ng mga big companies yung information about you, wala naman akong ginawang masama, but ayaw kong maibigay sa kanila yung mga private details ko. Example lang recently, ang profiling ng ACT Teachers Party List. Sabi nila, kung wala ka namang tinatago, dapat okay ka na i-inform kung ano ang data mo. Nung final po namin dati, pinapanukala namin sa Kongreso, buksan ang mga bank accounts ng lahat ng mga politiko, congressman, senador, public officials. Ayaw nilang buksan. Sabi namin, akala ko yung argument na dyan, kung wala kayong tinatago, okay lang na buksan. Yun po ang issue dito. So, ang panukala ko talaga dyan is more of, sa akin, implementation yan, actually. Yung pag-implement, yung ginagamit yung government resources to go after information ng mga opposition, I disagree with that vehemently. Go after the data and information on major personalities in the Philippines. And I also disagree itong pag-farm out sa mga big business ng information ng mamamayan for their commercial purposes. Yan po ang matunog na sagot natin sa data privacy. Dapat suportahan yan.
Thank you, Congressman Colmenares. Congressman Tañada.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Ang kailangan po natin gawin, kailangan ipabalik po natin yung mga magagaling po nating mga computer technicians and internet experts po natin. Ang problema po natin, hindi po natin binabayaran ng tama yung ating mga experts sa computers para protektahan ang data ng ating bansa. Kung titignan nga po natin, meron pong lumabas na balita, hindi naman pala totoo na nagkaroon po ng data leak sa Department of Foreign Affairs. At kailangan po natin tignan ano ba yung protocols na sinusundan ng ating gobyerno tungkol sa pagmamanage at pag-store ng ating mga private data. Kaya kung titignan nga po natin, mahina pa rin po ang ating imbita sa mga magagaling po nating mga computer programmers at tingin ko panahon na kung tayo po ay talagang gustong magkaroon ng isang secure na bansa sa usapin ng data, bayaran po natin ng tama ang ating mga computer programmers.
Thank you, Congressman Tañada. Secretary Roque.
Well, importante po talaga ang data privacy dahil ang pinagmumulan po niyan yung karapatang pantao to be secure in one's privacy, no, na nasa sa ligang batas. Isa po tayo sa mga nagreklamo na laban doon sa COMELEC at nagkaroon po ng desisyon ng National Privacy Commission na nagsasabi na naging pabaya ang COMELEC, no, at dapat managot, at ito nga yung naging dahilan para maging isa to sa mga basihan para ma-impeach yung dating COMELEC chairman na Andres Bautista. Now, ang tanong is, anong dapat gawin sa Senado? Well, meron na po tayong batas, no? Doon po sa batas na binuo natin na tinutulang ko yung provision sa libel, no? Pinaparusahan naman po doon yung hacking, no? At hacking po talaga ang pinagmumulan ng problema pagdating sa sa privacy implementation, no? Sa akin po, importante na ang Senado will focus on yung ensuring na lahat ng number one, opisina ng gobyerno ay sumusunod doon sa batas. Ngayon po nalalaman natin, ang mga lumalabag sa batas ay COMELEC. Pangalawa, DFA. No? Bakit mga gobyernong opisina pa ang hindi nakakasunod doon sa National Privacy Act? Tingin ko po isang dapat yan na tignan ng ating pamahalaan at bilang isang mambabatas, tignan po natin kung makakabigay tayo ng incentives doon sa mga kumpanya na magbibigay pa ng teknolohiya para lalo pang maprotektahan ang data ng mga mamamayan.
Thank you. All right, we're down to our last question, our final question to our candidates, and I would welcome any one of you'd like to stand and address the audience, get closer to them, please do so. The question is, if successful in the midterm elections, what would be your priority legislation? This time, we're going to start with Congressman Erin Tañada down the line. Congressman, you go first.
Maraming salamat, Pinky, at sa CNN sa pagkakataon na binigay po ninyo sa akin. Ang unang importanteng kailangan bigyan ng pansin at kung ako ay papalarin na maging senador, ay usapin ng sweldo. Dahil alam nga po natin, tumataas po ang presyo ng mga bilihin sa ating bansa at itong usapin ng sweldo ang isang susi kung paano haharapin ng ating mga manggagawa at empleyado itong pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Ang tanong, makatarungan pa ba ang ginagamit na regional wage boards sa pagtakda ng sweldo dito sa ating bansa? Sinabi ko nga kanina, pag tumaas po ang presyo ng langis, nationwide. Kapag tumaas po ang presyo ng bigas, nationwide. Kapag tumaas po ang presyo ng kuryente, kung minsan mas mahal po ang presyo ng kuryente sa probinsya kaysa sa Metro Manila. And yet, kung titignan nga po natin, ang minimum wage po dito sa Metro Manila ay mas mataas sa iba't ibang mga region. Kung bibigyan po tayo ng pagkakataon, sisilipin po natin, malay ba ho natin, itong usapin ng minimum wage ay pwedeng maging susi rin sa problema ng trapiko dito sa ating bansa. Dahil kung pantay-pantay na po ang sweldo sa buong Pilipinas, marami pong masusolusyonan ito.
That's Congressman Erin Tañada. Maraming salamat, sir. Next, let's go to Secretary Mar Rojas.
Magandang hapon at maraming salamat muli sa inyong lahat. No? Malinaw sa akin yung misyon na tatahakin ko. Tutulong sa pagpapalago ng ekonomiya. Dito nakasandal ang lahat ng pamilyang Pilipino. Unang-una, i-repeal ko, hahain ako ng panukala para ma-repeal ang probisyon sa paglalagay ng buwis sa produktong petrolyo na nakapaloob sa Train 1 at Train 2. Simpleng-simple lang po yan. Alam natin na domino effect yan. Pag nagmahal ang transportasyon, nagmamahal lahat ng pangunahing bilihin. Pangalawa po, tututulan ko yung kilos ng Department of Finance na tanggalin ang mga incentives na siyang nag-iimbita o nag-aalok para mga investor ay dito magtayo ng kanilang mga pabrika, ng mga pagawaan. Paano tayo lilikha ng trabaho kung ang mga investors ay hindi natin i-welcome dito? Dapat swabe silang makapasok dito, ayusin natin yung mga red tape, lumabas yung pagkabisaya ko, red tape, ang mga red tape para nang sa ganon, mas mabilis silang makapaglikha ng trabaho dito sa ating bansa. At pangatlo po, yung sa internet. Napakahalaga po. Ito yung highway ng sa ngayon at bukas. Kung dati may kalye, ngayon internet. Napakahalaga po na pilitin natin itong mga telcos sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga prangkisa na pabilisin ang kanilang internet, ayusin ang kanilang serbisyo.
Maraming salamat, Secretary Mar Rojas. Up next, ayan na po. Secretary Harry Roque, Go ahead.
Maraming salamat po sa CNN, no? At nagkaroon tayo ng ganitong pagpupulong. Importante po na malaman ng mga taong bayan kung ano talaga ang mga posisyon ng mga kandidato sa mga importanteng issue na humaharap sa atin. Anong gagawin natin? Unang-una po, bagamat 16 na buwan lang tayo nanilbihan sa Kongreso, sisiguraduhin po natin yung mga nais sa batas natin ay mapatupad ng tama. Nandyan po yung universal healthcare, libreng paggamot at paggamot sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon ng ating kasaysayan. Importante po gamitin ang oversight function ng Senado para masiguro na ang korupsyon ay hindi maging hadlang para magkaroon ng libreng paggamot at paggamot ang lahat. Importante rin po na bantayan yung implementasyon ng ating sinulong na batas na libreng tanghalian sa ating mga kabataan, no? At saka libreng irigasyon. Yung libreng tanghalian po, hayaan nyo po ngayon, hindi lahat ng kabataan ay napapakain. Yung mga nagugutom lamang. Pero susubukan po natin, palawakin pang programang ito pag tayo nakarating ng sulado, dapat lahat ng estudyante sa elementarya kasama ang high school magkaroon po ng libreng tanghalian. Nandyan din po yung irigasyon. Ang problema po, bagamat libre na po ang irigasyon, ang kailangan po, doblehin po natin ang irigasyon pa sa bayang ito. Pag ako po'y nandun na sa Senado, unang ipa-file natin, zero hunger bill. Dapat wala nang nagugutom sa Pilipinas sa loob ng 10 taon. Salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Harry Roque. Florin Hilbay, you're up next.
Ang pinapangako ko po sa inyo pag ako'y naging senador, you will have a statesman, not a crass politician. You will have a statesman who will try to unite and not divide. You will have a statesman who will try to uplift the lives of Filipinos and not demean their status. Ako po ay isang batang tundo. Ang nanay ko po ay isang graduate ng grade 6 at dating kasambahay. Naiisip ko po, ang pinakasimpleng batas na pwedeng nating ipasa ay 4 Ps. Na pangmalawakan, para hindi lamang sa mahirap, kundi para sa nakagraduate, para sa mga walang trabaho. Kaya ang sinasabi ko po, ang 4 Ps ay pilo para sa pamilyang Pilipino. Nakikita ko po ang estado ng mga taga-Tondo, yan ang estado ng karamihan sa ating mga mamamayan. Kung ikaw ay nakalubog sa putik ng kahirapan, hindi ka makagalaw. Kailangan kang iangat ng kaunti ng ating pamahalaan. At yun ang trabaho ng ating pamahalaan, ang magbukas ng oportunidad, magbukas ng mga pintuan para sa mga nasa laylayan. Kung nanay ko po pwedeng tumakbong senador, siya dapat ang tumakbo dahil magiging magaling siyang senador. Ngunit hindi po niya kayang tumakbo, kaya ako na lang po ang tatakbo para sa kanya. Salamat po.
Thank you, Florin Hilbay. Samira Gutoc.
Inspiration. Inspiration does not only come from leaderships. Inspiration and motivation does not only come from political people or leaders or those elected. Mine is an acceptance that we, the people, we, yung mga maliliit at inetsipwera ng ating lipunan, ay kasama po. Paano po? Peace education starts from the primary level where young children learn to accept that they can make things change. They can accept other tribal peoples as their classmates. They can actually read books that make of history, that they're not just about our Catholic nation, but also of our ethnicities and various identities of 7,100 islands. Peace education makes us appreciate the diversity of our country. Iba-ibang tao, iba't ibang kulay. Ang sabi ni Pocahontas, you think the only people who are people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. You'll never knew. Peace education. Peace education guarantees children against bullying. Peace education guarantees a population not sleeping against rape jokes by some of our elites. Peace education reminds us of decency and respect. Peace education ensures that we are Filipino and our values are not erased. Peace education.
Thank you, Samira Gutoc. Congressman Neri Colmenares.
Ang sabi ko kanina, kaya ako tumakbo sa pagkasenador dahil nais ko pong ituloy ang laban sa Kongreso doon sa Senado. Pagmahalal po ako sa Senado, isang batas malinaw, nire-repeal ang VAT sa kuryente, tubig at langis at ang excise tax ng train law. Walang patumpik-tumpik po na batas na nagbabawal sa kontraktualisasyon. Ang tatay ko po, security guard. Pero dahil hindi pa uso yung kontraktualisasyon noon, regular siya, na-promote siya. In the end, nung nag-retire siya, loan appraiser siya ng bangko. Pwede naman pala. Kaya isang batas na walang patumpik-tumpik nagbabawal sa kontraktualisasyon. Isang batas na nagsasaad ng mataas na sahod at hindi lang mataas na sahod, dapat national minimum wage para lahat ng manggagawa sa buong Pilipinas tataas ang kanilang sahod. Pensyon po, na-file ko po, nilaban ko sa Kongreso. Ang sabi nila, Neri, 2,000 dagdag sa SSS pension, suntok yan sa buwan. Mahilig po ako magsuntok sa buwan kasi paano mo naman masuntok ang buwan kung hindi ka susuntok? Dito sa Senado, susuntukin natin ang buwan muli, pensyon sa lahat ng senior citizens sa Pilipinas. Naging kakampi po ako ng mamayan doon sa Kongreso, maging kakampi ako ng mamamayan doon sa Senado.
Congressman Colmenares, salamat po. Secretary Alunan.
The question is, what would I do when I reach the Senate? What would be the first bill that I would file? Well, that will stem from my platform, which goes this way. Build the nation, protect the people, secure the country, and sustain the effort. The first bill, in terms of building the nation, will have to do with educational reform, especially values formation. We have to bring back ethics in our daily life. We've lost it, and we've lost it. That's why we have to recover it in our institutions and by making sure that our families instill the proper values in our people. That's educational reform. The second has to do with the mismatch of education. We're churning out people that are not required by the 21st century, so we have to adjust our curriculum. Number two, protect the people through reforming the criminal justice system, because there are many scalawags in this criminal justice system. Number three, when we talk about protecting the people, we also include those who don't have the means to protect themselves, especially the old, the infirm, the retirees, the veterans, and those that suffer from disabilities. And number four, when we talk about secure the country, we're talking about improving and strengthening the armed forces of the Philippines, because diplomacy means nothing unless we have a strong means of securing ourselves. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. To our candidates today, thank you very much for participating in today's senatorial forum. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your 7 senatorial aspirants joining us in the Filipino Votes, this senatorial forum. Please join us here, sir.
One by one.
Raffy Alunan, Secretary Raffy Alunan, Congressman Neri Colmenares, sir, Samira Gutoc,
Florin Hilbay, Roque, Mar Rojas, and of course, Erin Tañada. To our candidates, maraming salamat for giving us your time, and we hope to see you in our debate in
senatorial debate in April.
I'm Pinky Webb.
And I'm Pio Ontiveros. Thank you very much, audience. Thank you, Ateneo de Manila. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.